It is approximately 1 month until Starrcade 84, and tonight we get to find out what the main event is going to be. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Tyler Vance Rants. I'm your host, Tyler Vance himself, and you're not. It is October 20th, 1984. Last week, it was revealed that Chief Wahoo McDaniel had won the tournament to crown the new NWA United States Heavyweight Champion. Luscious Johnny Valiant was revealed to be the new manager of Brutus Beefcake, and the American Dream Dusty Rhodes and the Raging Bull Manny Fernandez issued a challenge to the NWA World Tag Team Champions, the Pride of the Carolinas Don Kernodle, and the Russian Bear Ivan Koloff. WWF Championship Wrestling is first up this week, and Vince McMahon and the living legend himself, Bruno Sammartino, greet us on commentary for the first match, which sees Charlie Fulton take on Sergeant Slaughter one-on-one. Hugging kids, kissing babies, and saluting the American flag are just some of the activities that the Marine undertakes while on his way down to the ring. The show's only an hour, Sarge. Let's pick up the pace, eh? As the bell rings, the crowd gets behind someone with their USA chants.
Listen to these fans. USA, USA.
Although I'm not quite sure which of the two participants that they're chanting that at, considering both of them are from the United States of America. It must just be some more of that blind patriotism that Americans are known for, caught up in that fervor and zeal instigated by that warmonger, Sergeant Slaughter. The Cobra Corps Commandant quickly polishes off Charlie Fulton with a Slaughter Cannon Cobra Clutch combination. The WWF update is next, and this week's focus is on the world's strongest man, in my opinion, Ken Patera. And Lord Awful Alfred Hayes states that he fears for Hulk Hogan's chances if the former Olympian challenges the Hulkster for his WWF championship, considering that since his return to the WWF, Patera seems stronger than ever.
Ken Patera can throw men around like Skittles.
You should be worried. When he was on Tuesday Night Titans, Ken Patera was able to hold an entire van back with his body strength alone. The Hulkster made a disgusting smoothie when he was on Tuesday Night Titans and flirted with Wendy Richter. They are not on the same level, and Hulkamania will crash and burn should the two ever face off against each other. Judy Martin takes on Desiree Peterson in singles action next, and as the match begins, Martin misses a couple of haymakers, while a single jab from Peterson sends Judy Martin down to the mat. From there, Martin Irish whips Desiree into the corner, who attempts to rebound out of it with a crossbody, but misses and crashes down hard. This opens the way up for Judy Martin to lift up Desiree Peterson and slam her down for the 1, 2, 3. After the match, the winner grabs the microphone from Howard Finkel and screams,
Martin, what's it?
Where's Wendy Richter? I want Wendy Richter in now!
Before tossing the loser Desiree Peterson outside of the ring like the trash she is. Last week on Piper's Pit, the Tonga Kid trespassed onto the set and demanded a match against Roddy Piper. Hot Rod wasn't impressed, nor was he interested in what the Tonga Kid had to say, so he offered his guest at the time, the Executioner, to have a match against the Kid, and if Jimmy Superfly Snuka's cousin could beat the Masked Man, then maybe Roddy Piper would step into the ring with the Tonga Kid. That match is next, as the Executioner defends Roddy Piper's dignity against the Tonga Kid. The Kid starts off by going up to the second rope and dropping his thick skull down onto the Executioners, forcing the Masked Man to go outside of the ring and shake the cobwebs loose. If Sergeant Slaughter took his time earlier, then the Tonga Kid seems to be in an absolute rush to get to his goal of Roddy Piper, slingshotting the Executioner back into the ring before hitting him with a dropkick and knocking the Masked Man down to the mat hard. A body slam follows before the Kid goes up to the top rope and executes a splash to get the desired win. The crowd begins to chant, Finally, they're screaming my language. I want Piper too. I want Roddy Piper to come out here and smash another coconut into the Tonga Kid's skull so that he can be alongside his cousin Jimmy Snuka in the emergency room. Billy Travis attempts to climb the mountain that is Big John Studd next, and the big man is escorted down to the ring by his manager, Bobby the Brain Heenan. A shoulder block from Studd nearly forces Travis's skeleton out of his skin prison as he heads down to the concrete floor. Once back in the ring, Big John Studd dismantles Billy Travis as if he's nothing more than an appetizer, draping Billy over the top rope and then dropping an elbow down onto Travis to get the win. Piper's Pit is next, and this week's guest is David Sammartino, son to the living legend, Bruno Sammartino. Piper wants to know what makes David think he's good enough to be competing in the WWF besides his last name.
What makes you think that you're good enough to come to the WWF? Who do you think you are that you're just going to come out here and ride on Daddy's name, man?
Sammartino begins to explain himself, but once again, the Tonga Kid interrupts the interview, demanding a shot against Roddy Piper now that the executioner has been dealt with.
You can take yourself and you can get out of here now while you can still act. I am Roddy Piper. You are nothing but garbage, mister.
I think you're making up a lot of excuses, Mr. Piper.
What's with these two juvenile delinquents trying to make a name for themselves at the expense of Roddy Piper? Both the Kid and David Sammartino could face off against Hot Rod at the same time, and Roddy Piper would still emerge victorious without a single bead of sweat dropping down his body. The main event of WWF Championship Wrestling is a tag team match between the team of Steve Lombardi and Mr. Italy Salvatore Bellomo taking on the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkoff. As is tradition by now, Nikolai Volkoff starts off by singing the Soviet-Russian national anthem. Bellomo then grabs the mic and attempts to sing a song of his own, but he's kicked in the gut so swiftly by the Russian that I can't even tell what the Italian was attempting to do.
Oh my God.
From there, Salvatore is double-teamed in enemy territory, all while Lombardi encourages the crowd to chant, "Russia sucks." In response to this, the Russian shows just how much his country does suck by lifting Salvatore Bellomo up with a single hand by the throat. Russia may suck, but Nikolai Volkoff sure as hell doesn't. Mr. Italy is continuously dissected from there, and as Steve Lombardi is tagged in, he does no better for his team, going on to lose to the Iron Sheik's Camel Clutch. With WWF Championship Wrestling at an end, it's time to tune into Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling and see what the National Wrestling Alliance has in store for us this week. Biased Bob Caudle greets us on commentary as he calls a singles match between wanted criminal Mike Rotundo taking on Don Sanders. The duo shake hands as the bell rings, as if Rotundo is trying to fool everyone into thinking that he's a nice guy. Don't forget that this is the same individual that attacks upstanding citizens like Don Kernodle, Ivan, and Nikita Koloff, all for no reason other than Dusty Rhodes told him to do so. Rotunda keeps the match itself down to the mat, employing several holds against Sanders before going on to secure the win with an airplane spin. Biased Bob Caudle is backstage, and he has the new NWA United States Heavyweight Champion with him, Chief Wahoo McDaniel.
You know, Carl, a lot of people are going to boo, a lot of people are not going to like it, but I told you so.
Chief Wahoo McDaniel told you so, and I told you so. He was a man on a mission with nothing to lose, and I specifically said that there was nothing more dangerous in this world than that. And here we are. I'm glad I put money down because, let me tell you, I received a nice big bonus from Chief Wahoo McDaniel coming out on top, just like I predicted.
And if these little sissies can't take it, then go somewhere else and wrestle.
I hear the American Wrestling Association is in desperate need of losers just like you, considering their hemorrhaging talent to the World Wrestling Federation. Bob Caudle's next guest backstage is Paul Jones, who announces that at the upcoming Starrcade 84 in about a month, he will be facing off against the Boogie Woogie Maniac Jimmy Valiant in a tuxedo street fight. and Mr. Jones has been so kind enough to even rent out a tuxedo that Valiant can borrow. We then go to pre-recorded footage of Jimmy Valiant vowing to put an end to Paul Jones at Starrcade 84, just like he put an end to the Great Kabuki at Starrcade 83.
Last time, Mr. Kabuki, it was the end of you. And this time, Pretty Papa, it's gonna be the end of you.
Hold up! This confirms that long-standing theory that Charlie Brown was none other than Jimmy Valiant himself. You just screwed up big time, Boogie Woogie idiot. The Great Kabuki faced off against Charlie Brown at Starrcade 83, an event which I covered, and I'll link down below for you since your memory is probably not as good as mine. Brown was some masked maniac supposedly from parts unknown who came to Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling to compete on behalf of Jimmy Valiant, considering that Valiant himself was not legally allowed to compete in the territory at that time. Why? Because Jimmy Valiant lost a loser leaves town match in August of 1983 against the Great Kabuki. Gary Hart, the Great Kabuki's manager, was adamant that Charlie Brown was none other than Jimmy Valiant in disguise, and no one believed him, except for me. He vowed to prove his theory true, but wasn't able to do so himself, but it turns out that he didn't have to. The Boogie Woogie Maniac Jimmy Valiant just confessed himself to competing under a mask and pseudonym despite NWA rules and regulations banning him from doing so. He should have the NWA Television Championship that he won as Charlie Brown stricken from the record, he should be fined, and he should be fired. Since so much focus is on the upcoming Starrcade 84, it's only natural that people have been wondering what kind of main event that we'll be receiving for the upcoming spectacle. Last year's Starrcade main event was a steel cage match for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, where the Nature Boy Ric Flair defeated Harley Race. And I can find it hard to think that anything can top that quality of a match. Jim Crockett Jr. has seemingly spared no expense as he announces from within a bank,
Starrcade 83 is history. It will long be remembered as a milestone for our company. Starrcade 84 will present the first ever $1 million challenge match.
It is now our pleasure to introduce the contestants. The current World Heavyweight Champion, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. The American Dream, Dusty Rhodes.
This is ridiculous, utterly ridiculous. How can Dusty Rhodes be given a free pass to wantonly commit any crime within Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling alongside his gang of lowlives, but also be rewarded with not only a shot at the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, but also a shot at becoming a millionaire? Somebody has to stop Jimbo Crockett Jr. Look at his evil, beady little eyes as he announces this to the crowd. He knows what he's doing, and he knows that no one is willing to stop him. The Nature Boy states that he will be ready for any kind of action that the American Dream brings to the match, while Rhodes himself goes on to say that he knows the fans' heartstrings will be played considering that both he and Flair are extremely popular.
There is time for talking and there is time for doing.
Here's what you should do, Dusty. You should head down to your local law enforcement office, confess your crimes, and turn yourself in. And if you're lucky, they'll only give you life sentencing rather than the death penalty.
From now on, I don't want to see your ugly face. I don't want to be around you.
You're one to talk, you walking warning for obesity. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm completely on Ric Flair's side for this.
I found a piece of music that I'd like them to roll right now as I walk away from you.
It's hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way.
He shouldn't be humble right now. Not only is he a proven champion, but he's more technically adept in the ring than Dusty Rhodes can ever hope to be. Plus, with the added incentive of becoming $1 million richer, the Nature Boy's love for money practically ensures his victory. Back to Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, Bias Bob Caudle is standing backstage, and this time he has both the NWA United States Heavyweight Champion and the NWA Television Champion, Chief Wahoo McDaniel and Tully Blanchard, standing by for an interview. Blanchard states that no matter who wins the upcoming $1 million match, either Ric Flair or Dusty Rhodes should spend the money quickly, considering that both he and Chief Wahoo McDaniel are two hungry individuals. Now that Chief Wahoo McDaniel is #1 contender again to the NWA World Heavyweight Championship since reclaiming his NWA United States Heavyweight Championship, the Chief states he'll be sitting ringside for the main event of Starrcade 84, so that no matter who wins the match, the Chief will immediately be ready and prepared to start training for his championship opportunity. Bias Bob Caudle's next guest is one of the criminal accomplices that runs rampant alongside the American Dream Dusty Rhodes, in Mike Rotundo, who begs Cowboy Ron Bass, please put up the NWA Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Championship. I'm begging you, please.
I'm begging you to just put that on the line.
Who begs for championship matches? Losers, that's who. Randy Barber takes on the raging loser Manny Fernandez in singles action next. A quick belly-to-belly suplex secures dominance for Fernandez before he goes on to win with a flying chop. The raging loser is then pulled aside by Bias Bob Caudle for another interview, because we haven't had enough of those this week. How does Manny feel about his best buddy, Dusty Rhodes, being given an opportunity to win $1 million? An amount of money that Fernandez can never hope to see in his entire lifetime. And how does Fernandez feel about the American Dream also be giving an opportunity to become the next NWA World Heavyweight Champion? A championship that the raging loser will never have the opportunity to go for. He doesn't give an answer. Manny Fernandez simply states that the $1 million match will be the biggest match in professional wrestling history. He's jealous. The raging loser then challenges NWA United States Heavyweight Champion Chief Wahoo McDaniel for that championship.
Let's talk about the U.S. Heavyweight Champion, Wahoo McDaniels. One-on-one, there ain't a man that ever wrote this bull down to the ground.
Wait a minute. Didn't you just challenge Don Kernodle and Ivan Koloff for the NWA World Tag Team Championships last week? And now you're challenging for the championship you yourself failed to attain during the tournament on October 7th? Bro, you're so unimportant that Chief McDaniel isn't even thinking or talking about you. Get a clue and realize that you're on the bottom of the barrel, pal. Guess what? Bias Bob Caudle has another interview ready for us, but thankfully it's with somebody of note, Tully Blanchard, who goes on to state that he is familiar with the concept of wrestling for a lot of money, even though it's never been as much as $1 million, considering that the NWA Television Champion has consistently put on $10,000 of his own money on the line, even going on to keep it when faced off against the likes of both Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes. What Tully Blanchard doesn't know is what it's like to be paired with a perfect 10 woman, and once more encourages all the beautiful ladies out there to continue sending in their profiles so that he can keep narrowing it down and find the perfect one.
Because the lucky lady, I'm gonna find her, and I may do something really, really special for her.
We're finally back to in-ring action as the NWA Mid-Atlantic Tag Team Champions, the Long Riders, who are accompanied by their manager James J. Dillon, take on the team of Mike Davis and Dennis Brown in a non-title tag team match. Brown and Davis are nothing more than chew toys to the NWA Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Champion Cowboy Ron Bass and his partner Black Bart, with Mike Davis suffering a backbreaker from Bart and then a power slam from Bass to lose the effort for his team. Interview number 7 is next, and this time Bias Bob Caudle has Paul Jones yet again, but this time Jones has brought out the tag team of the Zambuie Express. Mr. Elijah Akeem states that he doesn't give a crap about the American Dream Dusty Rhodes or the Nature Boy Ric Flair.
I wouldn't give a hill of beans about Dusty Rhodes or Ric Flair.
Instead, he states that he and Mr. Kareem Muhammad are not to be held responsible for whatever happens to any tag team that gets into the squared circle with the Zambuie Express.
The Zambuie Express is not responsible for what happened to anybody from here on in.
Long live the revolution. Six-man tag team action is next, and it sees the team of Mike Jackson, Jason Walker, and Steve Miller take on the NWA six-man tag team champions, Don Kernodle, Ivan, and Nikita Koloff. The trio of Kernodle and the Koloffs established dominance quickly in this non-title match, keeping their tags frequent and their maneuvers devastating to ensure that Jackson, Walker, and Miller are fractured at all times. The Cannon makes quick work of the NWA six-man tag team champions' opponents. After the match, a trio of Cobra Clutches sends a powerful message to any six-man team that thinks they're good enough to step inside the squared circle with the champions. As if we haven't had enough of the Raging Bull Manny Fernandez, he's biased Bob Caudle's final guest this week, and he spends the first part of the interview criticizing the NWA six-man tag team champions' recent behavior in the ring.
These people are out here they're trying to have a wrestling match, and these guys are trying to hurt and cripple somebody. I don't consider that a world champion.
Dude, you're the one committing hit and runs on Ivan and Nikita Koloff week in and week out. Not only are you a loser, but you're a hypocrite as well. Shut the hell up. Then to wrap up the interview and the week, Manny Fernandez reaffirms his challenge to the NWA World Tag Team Champions from last week.
I'm gonna tell you something, you Russians. The American way is here to stay.
Starrcade 83 was a major success and a turning point in the history of professional wrestling. And with only about a month to go until Starrcade 84, I have no doubt that the sequel will continue that trend. It's easy for us in 2023 to say that Starrcade was a major milestone. However, that statement still only scratches the surface at just how important the first two Starrcades truly were. Before I go, let me know your thoughts on who not only will come out on top of the main event of Starrcade 84 as the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, but also $1 million richer. The American Dream Dusty Rhodes or the Nature Boy Ric Flair? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Tyler Vance Rants. Don't forget to hit the bell, like the video, and subscribe so you can follow along in real time and see just how professional wrestling changed. You can also follow me on social media where game-changing wrestling material is shared on a daily basis. That's it for now, so I'll see you next week. So long. It must just be more of that blind patriotism that Americans are known for. Caught in the... I hear the American Wrestling Blanchard states that it doesn't matter who wins the upcoming $1 billion million